Hey guys, Jim Flies 2 here, and I've got a video on a Ludwig Super Sensative snare drum that you may have never seen before. The repair anyway. Here is a typical problem. Now I've been dealing with super sensitive snare drums since I was in junior high school, I think, in the 1970s. Now, this is called the slide cam, and I happen to have one still. Used to do a lot more of these, but the super sensitive has kind of fallen out of favor, and I think for good reason. Practically speaking, and I know this might be anathema to Ludwig lovers out there, and I am a Ludwig lover, believe me, but I am not a lover of the super sensitive mechanism, and I'll explain why as I go. I understand the principle. It's supposed to, lift the snares in a very parallel action, so that there's even tension all the way across. But I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever heard a sound difference between a superphonic and a super sensitive. Tone-wise or sensitivity-wise, it's a good idea, but likewise, the Rogers version, the Rogers Dynasonic was a parallel action on an aluminum frame, and it brought the snares up equally to rest against the bottom head. I've never been a Dynasonic fan. I love Rogers drums, and I have some, but the snare drum, I've never found one that I really liked. Like, I guess they're really cool, but they take a lot of really careful tweaking. And I've never gotten to that point with one where I feel like it's that decent. So anyway, that's my editorializing. I love Rogers drums. I love Ludwig drums. But this mechanism is kind of it's overly complicated. There's a lot of slop in its build, and very hard to completely rectify that. And when it is levered up in the up position, even though it's got adjusters, it never fully comes up unless you give it a little assistance. And there's a little tweak I can do with that by bending this guy a little bit so that it goes past a certain point. I think you know what I'm talking about if you've played these or messed around with them. But let's go ahead and do this repair and get on task here this morning. A very slow day in the shop, by the way. Spring break for a lot of Wisconsin schools over the last 2 weeks. And anyway, what we got to do, the way this is built is we've got to drill out this rivet. There's just a rivet that holds that in place, and then we'll install a new one for the slide cam. If you're interested in the slide cam, part number P1160A. P160A alpha. At the time they were 630. I think they're a little more now. Probably a lot more now, if you can even get them. But I have one left. Drill this. Try another bit here, kids. Let's just wedge that. Create some tension. It's getting there. Oh yeah, that's getting there. Let's give this a whack with a punch. Yeah, it's coming out. Let's use an auto punch now. What is an auto punch? Well, if You gotta ask, you'll never know. It's just a device that's got a tension spring in here, and when you press on it, there's a ball bearing that gives based on the amount of tension you have placed on it. There's the old rivet. Okay, this just folds down, this slides out, this unscrews. So you just take that apart. And be careful because there's a little ring, a gap-filling ring inside of this. I'll show you, unless it's missing. It shouldn't be missing. These never get changed. Ah, there it is. There it is. Okay, so here's the old part, broken. Don't try and glue those or epoxy them or JB weld them. They will not. That will not work. Okay, there's our little ring. And that's a spacer for this adjustable lever. Okay, and then in goes the new one. And there's the new rivet in there. Let's see. New rivet. It is not a split rivet, it's just got a hollow end, so it has to be peened over. This goes like so. And it's threaded, by the way, this plastic piece. Now the difficult thing is going to be filming this properly. Oh wow, that is a little bit short, that split or that rivet. I may need to go get another one. I've got a bunch of rivets in the shop, so let's go and hunt one down. Okay, as you can see, I've got a rivet in this left hand that's just a skosh longer than the rivet in the right hand. It is also nickel plated. You can see that's just a touch longer. These are case rivets, and they can be used for, oh, that's perfect. They can be used for a variety of projects. I've got them in various lengths, doing case repairs, a couple different diameters. And there's a place called Ohio Travel Bag. It's now called Weaver Leather Supply, and they got all kinds of repair stuff for luggage and leather working and such like that. I'm going to try and get this in here. Let's get this picture. This is just a steel block, and it's 2.5 inch by 2.5 inch by about 3/4 inch thickness. And you can get these available anywhere from $10 to $20, $10 to $20 online. And I'm just going to use this underneath here because I'm going to peen that over. Here is my punch. Just need to get it started. Okay. So that would be enough to hold it in place. It's going to function now. But let me go ahead and I could have taken this out of the way. It doesn't really matter a whole lot, but here's the thing with these. This is just press fit in there and peened over on the other end. This is a real weakness of this strainer mechanism. If Ludwig could design this with a little bit more sure-footing things, like maybe make this piece threaded in there, and maybe make this out of a more robust steel, and maybe take up some of the slop and play in this build mechanism, it would be a decent and functional design. But again, in my opinion, and I know there will be people out there say the Super Sensitive was the best strainer system ever invented, you know, and all that. And indeed, it's pretty cool. And in principle, it's a nice idea, but in functionality and repair, it's not great. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to tell it like it is. And I even called up, what's it, Jim Catalano at Ludwig years ago when they came up with the P85 that they had re-engineered after, you know, I know a lot of people hate the P85. I've never had a problem with them, really, other than the fact that when they fall in schools, it breaks that slide cam piece. But the old versions, the old P32s, and then the P85s that came after were pretty decent. But in the 1980s, it got really sloppy and was really bindy and was basically junk. And I called him up, or I guess I wrote a letter, and I said, you know, if Yamaha and these other companies can come out with a basic, simple on-off lever system like the P85, why can't Ludwig, the king of drum companies, do it? And, you know, they re-engineered it and came out with it again. And, again, I'm not one of these people that's hypercritical of the 85. It turns them on and turns them off, and it does a good job. And if you don't abuse the crap out of it, it's fine. And I'm sorry for the damn air compressor in the background, but people got to do their work, not just me. So, just irritating that it's happening right when I'm trying to do this video. All right, let's turn this guy. This is the locking screw, and then this adjusts your tension. I'll show you how this all works. And again, it doesn't really work all that great in the end. It kind of sucks the way they function, and that's not just me. It's like a whole survey of people that said, you know, Pepsi was better than Coke. So they said the same thing about the Supersensative. Okay, here. All right. What the heck, man? Why ain't it starting? Why aren't the threads starting? Come on, man. It should be, you know what it is? I've lost my chops. I've lost my Supersensative repair chops. That's all it is. Put me out to pasture. Alrighty. Oh, I said it was threaded, but maybe I'm lying. It's supposed to be threaded. There we go. Now they started. Okay. So we snugged this up pretty much as tight as we can. There's the lever from the other side. Now what we do, I turn these all the way up this way, because that will bring this release all the way up. But there's that slop in it. There's that play in it. And then I'll lock it in place. And this is the way I've done all of them. I've turned them all the way up as much as I can. But it never seems to be enough. You know? It's never enough, is it, babe? There. See that? Lock it in place. It's a sucky mechanism. I've said that before, and I'll say it again. I love them, you know, because it's got a certain elegance and everything to it, but they just don't work all that well. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we got our snare wires. Got the little notches. And you just have to adjust these all the way in on both sides. And then go ahead and release it down. Okay. Let's flip it up into playing position. Now we'll tighten these guys. So we're basically stretching the snare wires with these two end adjusters. Yeah. Now this bottom head has seen its better days, but that's not what they really wanted to spring for. Okay. Now this one miraculously seems to be working. But not fully. Yeah. Okay. So I believe the way a snare drum should be tensioned is that the snare wires, when you would play like pianissimo, and this matters mostly for jazz playing and symphonic percussion. If you're playing hard rock, and you're just belting, double forte and louder as hard as you can all the time, doesn't really matter. The snare drum shouldn't choke. I'll show you what I mean. It's not exhibiting as badly on this drum. On almost all of them that I've ever worked on, there's been a real problem with this. But you can see how that is kind of tilted down a little bit right here, because there's that play. There's play in all parts of the mechanism. So when you turn it off, relaxes all that play, then you pull it up to tension, and it doesn't, the wires don't fully seat against, and then you can sneak it up like that. That's always bugged me. But anyway, this one seems to be functioning okay, so I'm glad about that. But this is the side I just replaced. It's more of an ivory color. This one's got a little bit more whiter color on it, on the slide cam. But that's how you do it. It's pretty straightforward and simple repair. And if you love your Super Sensitive, leave a comment and say why. And if you can tell the difference between a Super Sensitive and a Superphonic in terms of their performance and their sound in particular, explain why, because I've never understood it. I've never got it. Again, I can understand the principle involved and the reason why they want a parallel action, but in practice, and because of the slop that's kind of but inherent into the design, I've never been convinced. I don't hear the difference. I don't feel the difference in the way it plays. So, same shell, same diameter, same heads, whatever, but I'm just not feeling it. Okay, leave a comments. Let me know what you think. I know it's kind of a long-winded repair, but yeah, that's the way I am, see.